welcome back to Earle Wellbeing Instagram Live. Sorry, it's been a little bit chaotic today, hence the changes of timings, but that just shows that we're real. Yes, keep it real. And the reason that we've been a bit delayed and a little bit all over the place is that I have a really very, very special guest joining us live in just a moment. She is sitting currently in the House of Commons, and the reason that we had to delay is that she got called in to vote. So we all had to wait, and of course, priorities. So I'm absolutely delighted that we're going to be talking to Carolyn Harris, who is the MP for Swansea, in just a moment. Now, why are we talking to her? Okay, there is a very good reason. So for those of you who subscribe to the magazine, or maybe you've just bought a one-off, which of course you can do now. If you don't want a subscription, that's absolutely fine. You can just buy a single copy. This, as you may have seen on Instagram, is the latest edition, and it has just gone live. So if you're somebody who subscribes to the digital platform, you will now be able to download that. So wherever you are in the world, wherever you're watching, wherever you're tuning in, thank you for being with me. Let me know, actually. Please drop me a comment. Love to hear where you're watching me from. You will be able to get it, download it. So no problem with that. But for those of you who have it sent to you, and in the UK it's sent with free postage and packing, so it doesn't cost you a bean to have it sent to you. We can actually post it anywhere in the world, you just have to pay the postage. So hop onto the Earle Wellbeing website if you want to check that out. This is the new cover, and as you'll see at the top here it says the menopause issue. Now for those of you not affected by the menopause for whatever reason, lucky you, or perimenopause, then don't stress, because there is lots in here. All our regulars are in here as well. Lots of recipes, lots of health information, lots of wellness wisdom that you can trust. But the focus is very firmly on menopause. And honestly, there's so much. We could have written books and books. Well, I have actually written books and books on the subject, but that's another matter. But there are so many great facets and conversations and topics, everything ranging from healthcare to sleep, to mental health, to physical health, to exercise, to foods to eat, to what to do for our skin, just so much. And as part of this, there is a brilliant feature with the amazing Carolyn Harris. Now, why? Why have we included Carolyn? Well, those of you who got the menopause issue, you will know from reading this, or maybe you'll know from her work, from her advocacy in Parliament, that she is absolutely the most determined voice for midlife women when it comes to perimenopause, menopause and postmenopause that we have in Westminster. So I'm just going to first of all add Lainey here from my team as a moderator. So Lainey will be able to hop in for any questions to do with the magazine, the website, the podcast, the Liz Loves codes, all of that. She'll be there from my team. And now, without any further ado, lovely to see you all. Thanks for letting me know where you are joining me from. Anybody from Swansea, I wonder? Carolyn would love to hear that. There we go. Carolyn Harris. Let's just hope that the connections between here and Westminster are strong. I think I've clipped it set. Yes, it says she has joined. Well, good afternoon.
Hello.
Well, this just shows that it's live and real, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, what have you been voting on?
Northern Ireland bill.
Northern
Ireland stuff.
My gosh. I mean, talk about multitasking. Your brain must be just, you must be the ultimate kind of female brain, which they say is the most agile, of course, because
we've got to do it.
It so is. Now, I know that you are so busy, and I'm just so grateful that we were able to reschedule this. First of all, thank you for contributing so knowledgeably and honestly and frankly to the magazine. I'm absolutely thrilled to see you here in print.
Oh, that's lovely. I'm going to go get a coffee.
Really, really. You are, it's in the post. If it hasn't already reached you, it will be in your House of Commons in tray, I can assure you. Can we just backtrack a little bit and say, how did all this happen for you? Why have you become this amazing political advocate for women in Westminster?
I think it was other people coming to me originally. It was women who were trying to campaign to get things changed on the menopause agenda. And having done a fair bit of campaigning, I realised that you want to get wholesale change, if you try to do things piecemeal. You need to get a subject out there, get it talked about, and then you've got a chance of actually making change. And during this process, when I was saying things like, I sailed through my menopause, but I want to make sure that other women are getting fair play, I suddenly realised that I had not sailed through my menopause, and everything I thought was just getting older, down to my biological clock and, you know, just my own personal problems, I realised that I was menopausal.
And how old were you at that stage, if you don't mind me asking?
When I realised I was menopausal, 58.
God,
and I've
so
been
quite
8
late.
years. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've been 8 years suffering, not realising why I was suffering.
You know, if I think of as women, if we're not signposted to that, you know, I look back to my late 40s and my own journey, perimenopause journey, was quite blurred because I had a child very late. My last child, I was 47, actually nearly 48. And when I first got pregnant, I didn't, even though he was my 5th child, you would have thought I would have clocked this by now. I didn't actually realise that I was pregnant. I'd been very busy. I'd been told by doctors that I was kind of post-fertility, didn't really need to kind of worry too much about all that stuff. So wrong. Ladies, it's never too late, or at least not for a while after they might think it is. And, you know, I was very stressed. It was a time when my business partner and I, we were selling the beauty company, we were living on aeroplanes, black coffee, too many cocktails, late night stress. I used to get crippling headaches, anxiety, recurrent UTIs, dry skin, felt rubbish, mood swings, never had a hot flush. Actually, none of those classic signposts that would have made me think, oh, maybe. And even I was writing about health and well-being, you know, I didn't clock it. And I think one of the things that really does need to change within healthcare, if you don't mind me saying so, seeing as I've got you, is can we get, you know, mandatory menopause updated training for GPs and practice nurses would be great. And, you know, when I was 50, I got this lovely invitation, you know, please go back to your GP, have a health screen, have a mammogram. You know, when I hit 60, it was like, great, you know, come for a colonoscopy. Where's the signposting saying, actually, do you know what? You're 45. I think you ought to come in and have a chat about hormones.
I mean, I'd love to say yes to the mandatory training, but in reality, medical schools are private entities. They are universities. So they set their own agenda. So there was a time when I was going to campaign for mandatory training to realise that the government have no power over the universities. They set their own agenda. What the government has got power over, and where I think they should go, is every time a woman has a female-specific health check, postnatal, smear, a coil fitted, they should be given an information sheet so that they are prepared. Now, it's a little bit like a pension scheme. When I was in my 20s and somebody talked to me about a pension, I was like, oh, good God, I don't need a pension. It's years and years and years. I think it's the same with menopause. There'll be a lot of women who will say, oh, what are you talking to me about menopause for? But come 20 years down the line, they will remember that they've been having these leaflets and that there is something in this and that they can anticipate where they need to go and what they need to do. So that's where I see this going. A lot more doctors are coming to this. A lot more doctors are taking up. I mean, Louise Newson does brilliant training, and the British Menopause Society do training. There is training out there, but it's up to the individual to seek the training, and then they class it as upskilling, which I find ludicrous, considering we 51% of the population. But it is there, but it takes time to learn. But if all doctors had to, or every medical profession was giving out this information, then they would have to understand what the information was that they were giving out to women. They'd soon all catch on.
They would, wouldn't they? You have been phenomenally successful, though, with so much of your work already in the House of Commons, and I hope that that's going to continue for a much longer time. Do you want to talk a little bit about your campaign about HRT prescribing? Because you really did get a lot of success with that, didn't you?
Yeah, and I think the first thing to say, Liz, is that HRT became a bit of the poster girl for that campaign, but we needed something which would grab the attention of the government, of women, of legislators, of society, and now we know globally. We needed something which I could actually write on a piece of paper and try to get through as a legislative item. Prescriptions are free for everyone in Northern Ireland, Scotland and in Wales. So it was only when I had a private member's bill and I was looking for that thing that would give attention to the menopause and realised that women in England were paying for the HRT.
Yeah.
So I tried to, so what I tried to do is to make it a level playing field so that even though the menopause care is not brilliant anywhere, if at least all women could access HRT free, that would be the hook which would give us the attention and it would bring some kind of equality. I fought hard for that and eventually we had the compromise position that women in England pay once a year for a whole year's worth of HRT, and then that costs them £18.50, something like that, as opposed to £9 odd every item every month. So it's a big saving for them, but the real purpose of it was to draw attention so that people across the world would say the House of Commons are legislating on menopause, and that's what gave it moved it to a whole new level, if you like. It's become a political thing now.
It's extraordinary. You know, you have brought that word menopause right into the House, into the heart of Parliament. I would imagine for the first time in its history.
Up until recently, there were very few times that the word menopause was mentioned in the House of Commons. But I'm also really pleased to say, and Tom is going to cringe now because he knows what I'm going to say, that vaginal dryness is something we now regularly discuss in the House of Commons.
Have you had a debate in the House of Commons that includes the words vaginal dryness?
I've done it several times. I even saw Jacob Rees-Mogg one day and I said, Jacob, if you will say vaginal dryness for me in the House of Commons chamber, it will put you on a different planet. You know, you will be revered. And he has promised he will do so. He didn't know what it was, but he said he would do it. So I'm still working on it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I
people like Ian Duncan
another
Smith
guest
now
coming on.
talk about menopause, and people you just don't expect to talk about menopause are openly talking about it. Yeah. The number of men and women in this bill.
Oh, I've lost. Yep, go on. Sorry, I've lost your sound. I think there's probably a lot of MPs using the internet. Hopefully it'll come back. Carolyn has left the building. It says on my screen. We're going to get her to rejoin, hopefully with a slightly stronger connection. I mean, isn't she just phenomenal? I love that story about Jacob Rees-Mogg and vaginal dryness, two words that I never thought I would say in the same sentence. Hang on, Jacob Rees-Mogg, 3 words, 5 words maybe I thought I'd never say in the same time. Okay, let me see if we can get Carolyn back. Hopefully we can. And do pop your questions as well in the comments. I will keep an eye. I'm sorry the connection has dropped, but we're back.
We are back.
We are back. Okay, so I just want to actually say, because we were talking about getting the word menopause, you know, you are right up there. I mean, that was a picture that's in our magazine. So what's happening at the moment? Because I heard that there was an HRT czar, just like you have, you know, a kind of a drug czar and a food czar and all that. What happened to the czar?
She left.
For goodness sake.
Yeah, they had the same lady who dealt with the vaccine rollout, and she was looking at supplies of HRT, and then left, basically leaving the same recommendations as we were already telling them. And there's still a shortage, and there's various reasons for that shortage, which, you know, are quite frustrating. But
Yeah.
We haven't got a czar. We haven't got a czar.
We haven't got a czar, but we've got you. We've got an empress, so we perhaps don't need a czar. So what is happening with the HRT shortages? How did it come about? Is it because there's just too much demand because the awareness has grown?
I think a lot of it comes down to the fact that if you are not used to prescribing so when you've got a formulary, with a formulary you can, and the QOFs, you know what the QOFs is?
Tell us.
So the QOFs are the certain health conditions which are tested for by a GP, and the results from that will be fed into national data. So the pharmaceutical companies and the government and the health boards, they all know that they're going to be X number of people with heart disease in 5 years' time. So the medication is available. There is nothing on the QOFs for women's health. So
nothing for women's health?
There's nothing for women's health. So women are not screened routinely for a hormone deficiency. Therefore, there is no data gathered that would help anybody to pre-guess how many people in 5 years, how many women in 5 years' time are likely to need HRT. So that's one problem. Another problem is because of all the raised awareness, then the demand has increased, and the demand is outstripped the availability. That a lot of that is down to the fact that all health boards have a local formulary. So HRT, which is being regularly prescribed, is on local formularies. Like I'm on a gel. Most health boards in this country are prescribing this gel.
Yep.
That means that when you go to a doctor, they are probably so used to prescribing that gel, they automatically prescribe it. So the demand for that increases, and then that gel goes out of stock. Now, there are other HRT products which are not on that local formulary. So the doctors are not prescribing it because they don't know it exists. If we had a national formulary so that every product was available to every GP, so that every woman had a choice and every doctor could advise accordingly, then we probably wouldn't have such bad shortages. But unfortunately, there's a committee, and we all know what happens with committees. Each health board has a committee that decides what product actually goes on to that list of available products. Now, the government would tell you, and they are quite right in saying this, that any doctor can prescribe any medication. And they're right, they can. But the problem is, if you got 10 minutes with a patient, and you drop the national formulary list down and it tells you this is what you can prescribe, you are not then going to go off and do research to find alternative products which you don't know if the pharmacies are going to stock. So unless we have a national formulary, we are always going to have shortages because the most popular products will go out quicker than the stuff that people doesn't know is available.
Is that ever going to change? It seems madness that I can literally kind of hop from, I don't know, Dorset to Devon and get a completely different type of HRT because it's listed. You know, it should be a UK-wide, you know, Great Britain-wide formulary. Is that ever going to change? Is that something worth campaigning for? Or is that just a non-starter?
That is something that I am campaigning. I mean, I'm campaigning on loads of things around the menopause, but that is a biggie for me, is that there's no postcode lottery on HRT, so that every woman can access whatever support, whatever HRT right across this country. But there's huge disparities in communities that spend three times as much money on prescribing HRT than in, let's say, lower income areas where they actually prescribe minimum amount, and not even the body identical stuff. So it's very much a postcode lottery, and that's what we need to break through those social economic barriers which are preventing all women from accessing all services right across the country.
There does seem to be not only massive gender inequality in healthcare, but also this social economic disparity, and it is really quite shocking. You know, I think when you look at, as you say, the prescribing for the wealthier home counties, you know, perhaps where women are able to meet for coffee mornings and exchange information, and you know, and have the confidence perhaps to go in and argue with their GP.
And that is big issue for me is that women who are on low incomes, working women, especially women who are doing a couple of jobs and they've got a few kids,
shift work.
they don't prioritize themselves. They're not having the conversations to say, I'm not feeling very well, what do you think it is? They haven't got the time for that. They don't go to the doctor, or if they do go to the doctor, they do like I did, and they go with one ailment, which for me was depression, ended up on antidepressants. So we have huge amounts of women on antidepressants when really they could be on something completely different. It could be that they just need to change their diet and do more exercise and, you know, get the other hormones in the brain going. But until all women have equal access to this care and understand that it hasn't got to be terribly expensive, in fact, it can be free to a lot of people, then we're always going to have this economic disparity, and it really frustrates me.
Yeah. Talking about hormones and gender inequality, obviously, if we're talking about prescribing, there is a massive inequality when it comes to the prescribing of testosterone. Not only with women being able to get it, but of course, talking about those regional formularies, in some places you can, again, it comes back to the postcode lottery. In other places you can't, and if you can afford to see a private specialist and can afford the £45 a month purely for your tube of Androfem, then you can be one of the fortunate ones. But, you know, it's a disgrace, isn't it?
It is. And the biggest problem for me with testosterone is because it's not prescribed for anything other than sexual health. And the only product available on prescription is actually a male product in this country, then most women can't get it on the NHS. There is a female version, which I actually take, but like you say, I pay privately for, but that is out of the reach of a lot of women, and a lot of women don't realise that testosterone may actually help them. So we have to find a way of getting testosterone as a product license for women, because currently it's not licensed for women. So if you have the product from your doctor, it's the male product, which is 10 times stronger than the female. So you've got to be very careful that you don't overdose on it. And not a risk I'd want to take. So I pay privately for it. There is a new study which is sort of floating around at the moment. They're trying to do some work on this, but they cannot investigate the benefits of testosterone until it is licensed for women. And
that's
they won't
catch 22, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like they're not going to do the investigations unless they can get a license. They're not going to get a license if they can't do the investigations.
But we think it's good for heart disease. We think it's good for brain fog. We think it's good for a whole host of things. And we probably, in our heart of hearts, know that we're right. But we can't prove that until the proper medical research is done. And that won't happen until it's licensed for women. And it's not going to be licensed for women as long as a female product is not has not passed the MHRA. There is a male version, and I understand, and I don't know how true this is, but I'm led to believe that they are trying to develop an applicator which would actually dispense the right amount of medication for women, and then they would then apply for a change of license so that it becomes a licensed product for women. But all this is out there in the ether, and until all that happens, we can't do anything about it.
I don't know how you do your job and keep your calm, to be perfectly honest. I would spend my entire day so outraged. Yeah. I think my stress levels, you know, would be up here. What do you do actually on a personal level? How do you shed all that? You know, whenever I see pictures of debates or hear videos, I think, how very dare you talk to people like that? You know, I wouldn't talk to anybody in a room. The hurling of insults. I know you're on social media. I'm sure you get a lot of personal.
That's horrendous.
How do you cope with that? Do you have this kind of imaginary screen around you?
So with the social media, I avoid it at all costs. So the lovely Tom in my office, he deals with all the social media. We all love Tom, and I don't have it accessible on my phone, because I have had it in the past and it was really upsetting. So Tom deals with all that. On a personal level, I love massage or reflexology, and I seem to build everything up, and then I would go off and have a head massage, or I love hot stones, or I love reflexology, or I love a facial, and that's how I get rid of my stress. And you know, like in the summer, we've been feeding kids in my constituency. We fed like 20,000 kids. So I've been spent plenty of time in parks, running around, trying to get kids to get their sandwiches and grab their food. So that helps. That all helps.
And early in the morning, you know, Carolyn, I mean, it's going to sound a bit woo-woo, but, you know, there's a lot of quantum energy out there. And if you can just get out first thing, get some daylight, get some sunlight on your skin. Cold shower, can I tempt you in a cold shower?
Yeah, I can do cold shower. I like swimming. I love to go swimming. I love to go to, well, I like things like Zumba and things like that, but it's finding the time to do it.
It is. I mean, I like a cold shower because it's 60 seconds of my life.
Yeah, I might try the cold shower more often.
Yeah, seriously. If I forget, I have to get back in the shower and do it because it gives you that little kind of dopamine hit kind of mid-morning. Before we go, and I'm conscious of your time, some other issue that I really want to raise that's kind of been put on my heart recently, and I know is on your heart too, and that's the healthcare injustice for women in prison.
Oh, horrendous.
You know, on all levels, from the potential miscarriage of justice for women, midlife women who suddenly lose it, and it's a mitigating factor that wasn't taken into account in their sentencing, to the pure lack of availability. We think we struggle on the outside getting healthcare. Try being a female prisoner in midlife and getting your hormones sorted. What's happening there, and what are you doing, and how can we support that?
Right, well, it's something I really do worry about this, and every time I go to any kind of meeting where I have an opportunity to talk about it, I do. So I will visit women's prisons regularly. I recently visited a women's prison to speak to some women who were menopausal. There was no resource whatsoever in that prison. Up until about 18 months ago, there was one leaflet in the library. That's gone. One of the things I would really love to do, and I'm seeking permission for the Ministry of Justice, is to provide, as a pilot, that particular prison with a bookmark in every book and a bookmark surplus for the women to have with the symptoms on, so at least they can recognise the symptoms. I'm going to speak to lovely people who've written books on menopause to try to get them to donate books to that library so that we have a section which will have information for them. I've been speaking to both the Crown Court in my constituency and also the Old Bailey about changing the bench handbook and finding ways where the court can take into consideration a menopausal woman, be it she works there, whether she's a witness, whether she's a relative or actually in the dock, but they take into consideration, you know, that she may be menopausal. And I'm also talking to the Sentencing Council about what they can do to help us to make sure that menopausal women are identified if they come into the system. I'm speaking to the police to see if there's any way that they can screen women when they first present in custody.
Absolutely.
They will have different needs. You know, they may need to go to the bathroom more, they may need extra sanitary while they're in custody. They may need to be taken out for fresh air when they wouldn't normally be allowed to, those kinds of things. And I'm also talking to the probation service about what we can do with our pre-sentencing reports, so that if they are perimenopausal or menopausal, that is taken into consideration. Because once you're in prison, Liz, you very rarely will have enough clothes. You won't have any spare underwear. You won't be able to change your sheets every day. You'll sleep on a plastic mattress with a plastic pillow. You will not be able to go outside whenever you want to. You were probably in a cell with no fans. You'll have one small window with bars on. You may wake up at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning and you're meant to go to work and you're really not up to it. So if you then don't obey by the regime and the rules, you can have days added to your sentence. So I just think if we could get it right in prisons, that would be a template to make sure we get it right for women everywhere. Like if I'm stressed, or if you want a cold shower, or if I want to go for a swim, I'll do it. A woman in prison can't do that. She's guided by a whole strict regime which
runs by the bell, out of the cell, certain hours, outside, back in, come what may.
So I'm trying to get that conversation into every single area that I'm working on. So you'll often hear me asking questions in Justice or writing letters or asking for a debate specifically on that.
honestly, it makes you want to cry, doesn't it? And we're just so grateful that we have you. Before you go, can you tell us all, please, how we can support the work that you're doing best?
Well, just watch. I mean, every time that we do something, we try to put messages out on social media asking women to contact their MPs to say what more they can do. We're at a point where there's going to be a general election within the next 12, 18 months. Now is the time to be lobbying your MPs to find out what is going to be on their party's manifesto for women. You know, we'll probably do a series of template letters or some kind of lobbying information that you can use. Get your MP to join the APPG on menopause, so at least your voice is being heard. And
What's the APPG? Sorry, what does that mean?
Parliamentary group on menopause.
All-party parliamentary group on menopause. There is such a thing.
Yeah, well, that's what
an RMP.
Yeah.
You chair it, and we could ask our MP
yeah.
to come and join it.
Yeah. And the
how many MPs do you have at the moment?
Quite a lot on there. I think about 30 are on there, which is good for an APPG. They don't all turn up at every meeting, but they're on there. We can call on them to sign letters and to get involved in debates. And the other thing is, if menopause has caused you a specific issue which maybe we haven't spoke about, that came to me the other day, was around holiday insurance. Somebody discovered that they weren't covered on their holiday insurance for menopause and had to fly home from Spain because they were taking really low and they just didn't want to be there, wanted to come home. Yeah. Came home and they were diagnosed with menopause, but that flight was not covered because menopause was not covered. So on that sick paper from the doctor that was presented to the insurance company and it said menopause, the insurance company said, oh, we don't cover you for that. Yeah. So it's little things like that that nobody thought of before, but which could be an issue for a lot of people.
Sure. Well, thank you. I honestly thank you from the bottom of my heart, and for everybody watching and listening. And this, of course, will be saved and we will flag and signpost. And you are just doing such remarkable work. And I'm so pleased and proud to know you and have connected. And thank you again for contributing to the magazine, and onwards.
Thank you.
With the sisterhood.
Thanks.
You're wonderful.
Bye,
thank
guys.
you. Bye-bye. I think Tom is there to probably click you off. Press the right button. There he is. Wow, amazing. You know, and whatever your political leaning, I have to say, Carolyn Harris is the real deal. And if you'd like to read more about her story, of course, you will find it in the current menopause-focused issue of Earle Wellbeing. We've got a new feature actually towards the back of the magazine called My Better Second Half, because for us, it's all about having a better second half. And she's in there. And I have to say, she just writes brilliantly and very personally, and lots of good, helpful information, helpful takeaways. So if you'd like to save this, obviously, the Instagram Live, please rewatch it. Please listen and do the action points that Caroline says. And wasn't that just heartbreaking, hearing about women in prisons? I mean, anyway, that's a topic for another day, perhaps. I've also recorded a podcast with Caroline. It's in the archives. So if you go to the Earle Wellbeing Show archives, then if you search up Carolyn Harris or just put in Earle Wellbeing Show, it will come up and you'll see she talks so well about so many of these things. Anyway, she is our star contributor here in the current issue. This has just gone on sale. If you are yet to subscribe, you can, of course, subscribe with free UK postage and packing. It's about 30 quid or so for the year, and you get your 6 issues every other month. And there is currently a brilliant subscription gift. Don't have it here, but it's the Life Armour Drops of Balance. Brilliant, menopausal, perimenopausal, and post. Just great life drops from Life Armour, which I think are worth about £23. So it's a no-brainer, really. It's a kind of a free thing. They're drops that I use. In fact, the reason I haven't got them sitting here today is that I just used my last one this morning, my last drop. I've got some more on order. So please do go and get that. But if you haven't tried the magazine and just thinking, actually, I just want to get one copy, we do now have single issues that we sell. So hop over to the website if you just want the one issue, maybe as a tryout, then please do. That's it for today. Last week, we were talking to the amazing Tom from Bristol Fungarium. Wasn't he just phenomenal? Didn't you love him? Yeah, it was great. All about foraging and mushrooms. And in particular, this little beauty, which I've been taking in my coffee ever since, shiitake. This is the Bristol Fungarium shiitake. In fact, I'm going to have some now. I'm going to have some in my tea just to prove that you don't have to always have it in a cup of coffee. I've got my cup of tea here. And I think he said it was 2 droppers like that go in, and the astonishing benefits of shiitake, particularly, which I didn't realize, antiviral. Very, very powerful with the clinical studies that have looked at shiitake and antiviral. So I think as we step into back to school, yes, I dropped my youngest off this week. Yes, it's been lovely having you home for the last 9 weeks. But now it's time to go back to school. But of course, when the little darlings come back, or your grandchildren come back, or uni kids, what do? They bring all the bugs back with them and share them liberally. Or maybe you've got teens like I've got, well, he's not a teen now, 21, Kit, going back to uni. Of course, he's going to be thrust into that environment of work and social with a lot of people, and he needs to keep his immune system strong. So he is also going back with Bristol Fungarium shiitake. I literally made my order yesterday for that. So thank you. We do have a Liz Loves, 15% off everything on Bristol Fungarium, even their Lion's Mane chocolate, which is super delicious. Shout out to Radhika, who makes their vegan chocolate, and it is epic. I love it, and it's actually a great gift for somebody. It's a really good talking point, actually. Bet they've never received that before. One last mention, actually, and that's Youth and Earth, which is another brilliant brand, British brand that we work with here. Youth and Earth, they make so many of the supplements that I buy and take for myself and my family. This one is hyaluronic acid. Brilliant for the skin. And as we move into the winter months, I know if you're in the UK, the sun is shining right now, but trust me, it won't very soon, and it's very cold in the winter, and the central heating will go on, and even with joints and all of that, the lubrication that we need, internal lubrication, comes from hyaluronic acid. It's a cofactor along with collagen for strong, supple, younger looking skin. It's something that I take, and I also find it in my skincare. I look for at least triple action hyaluronic acid in my skincare. And actually, I was really thrilled when I did the Instagram live with Dr. Was it Barbara from Studio 10, forgive me, multitasking brain, talking all about her incredible partnership with Grace Foder, the female founder for Studio 10. I'm actually wearing it at the moment. It's basically a 5-in-1, so it's a makeup primer, sunscreen, skincare, pro-aging, tinted base that just does it all. We love it. And that has not just the triple hyaluronic acid, it's, what is it, quintuple, 5. Really stretching my brain with these words today. Yeah, 5 different molecular weights of hyaluronic acid. So anyway, if you'd like to get double duty, you can take hyaluronic acid. This is the liposomal version from Youth and Earth, which means that it's highly absorbable, expensive, but it really works. And of course, to help with the cost, we do have a Liz Loves 25% off first orders with Liz Loves on Youth and Earth. Thank you very much, Ed, for giving us that discount. We love it. 25% off first orders, and thereafter 20%. I use it all the time. I've got my gold loyalty card. I use my Liz Loves discount. I personally buy this stuff using the Liz Loves to get 20% off. That is it for today. Now, on Thursday, I'll be back with you, different location, with a member of my family. Yeah, we're keeping it close. I'm going to be talking to Lily Earle, my eldest, and we're going to be looking at LED light, near infrared, different types of light frequency for health and well-being. We're going to be talking about skin cell aging, mitochondrial activity, inflammation. What's the difference between red light on the skin, blue light on the skin, pink light? What's it all doing? How does light make our hair grow? All fascinating stuff. I hope that you will join us. It'll be back at the normal time of 12:30. On Thursday. Pop it in your diary, make a cup of tea, pull up the screen and watch us for half an hour. But for now, thank you for being with us today. And a huge thank you to Carolyn Harris MP for tuning in and joining us from the House of Commons, and of course to the wonderful Tom behind the scenes. I'll see you later in the week. Thank you. Bye-bye.